I think tonight, this might be the only time you'll ever hear me say this. Tonight made me hate the fact that I just had to watch best on best hockey for 2 weeks. Because I went from best on best hockey and probably, last year I thought the Four Nations final was the best hockey. Obviously, as a Canadian, I was super excited to win that Four Nations game. But coming out of that one, I thought, this is the best hockey game I've ever seen. Just the quality of play, the tempo, the execution level, how hard it was for either team to get open ice, to create chances, to score, whatever. And then I watched Sunday's gold medal game, Canada-US. And I walked away from that and I thought, that was the best game I've ever seen. And then I watched the Leafs play the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight to return to NHL action and kick off this final stretch that, is two parts, right? It's a one little short runway and then a longer one to get to the end of the year. But the short runway leads you into the trade deadline. Supposedly here, we're going to go through the next 5 games, I think it is, and including tonight. And we're going to determine what we are as a team. I don't think we need the rest of the 5 games. I think we could just watch what just happened there against Tampa tonight. And I'm pretty comfortable calling it as is, because to go from watching what we just watched for 2 weeks to watch this nonsense from tonight's game, I think I'm ready to call it as a Leafs fan and say, hey, this team's not good enough. Brad, it's all right, brother. You can admit to sell. It's time to sell. I said it myself before the break, even after the 3 wins. I said, you know what? You're not going to be one of the 5 worst teams in the league. You're just not. You have Matthews and Nylander, and Tavares is going to rest, Nyes is going to rest. You have OEL playing the way he is. You have the goaltending. You're not going to be one of the 5 worst unless you sit everybody and sell everybody. And they're not going to. So just get rid of the pieces you need to. And just be competitive. Figure out what you're going to do next year. Just compete. Let's just have some fun the rest of the way. I can't believe I had to go from watching that hockey to watch what I watched tonight. And I can't believe they still think there's 4 games left for them to determine the direction of this team this season. I'm good. We saw it. It's time to sell. It's time to move on from some pieces. The Maple Leafs drop this one here tonight to the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-2 in game 58 of the regular season. I'm Zach Phillips. Glad to be back on the Leafs Nation After Dark, breaking things down, talking about what happened, hearing from you guys in the chat. We're going to get to our guest in 1 second. Just before we do, just want to remind everybody how the show goes here. So we'll break everything down from the game from start to finish. We'll probably jump all over the place. I try my best to keep it in order a little bit, but we probably will go everywhere all at once. That's how the show just goes. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's how it's always gone. That's how it will always go. I try to stay on track, but it doesn't always go that way. You guys in the chat are just as important as I am here on the screen, because you guys, in a lot of ways, will dictate how the show goes, what we're talking about, what concerns you, what doesn't concern you, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see the team do. So you guys pop in the chat there. Let me know how you feel. And then if you really want something read, or you feel like I didn't see it or whatever, I try my best to read the chat, but you want to get involved in the show, send in those super chats, and proceeds from our super chats go to Sick Kids Charity. We have been absolutely crushing it as a community this season with the donations to Sick Kids. Last year, we talked about it. I think it was $4,400, around $4,500 that we donated to Sick Kids from this channel alone. This season already, right now in February, we're about at that point already. So we still got the trade deadline and the rest of this season to go. No reason we can't just blow past that number. So send in those super chats. Proceeds from your super chats go to Sick Kids Charity. And then, as always, after our first guest here of the show tonight, on the return back, we will get to you guys in the chat and your call-in. So we'll open up the call-in line. You call in, give your thoughts. You want to rant? You want to yell? You want to scream? You want to tell me I'm an idiot? Go for it. I don't care. You call into the show. You let me know what you think, how you feel, because this is a fan-driven show here on the Postgame. I made him wait for long enough. Let's get to our first guest, not just of the night here, but of the return. And I'm sure he is so happy to have witnessed the hockey he did out there tonight. Let's welcome to the program from Hockey Hot Stove covering the Leafs, Mike in Buffalo. Mike, just a wonder, NHL hockey is back, eh?
Oh, Zach, I just missed it so much. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, folks. Leaf Nation out there, you should rejoice because if Brad Treliving and Craig Berube and Keith Pelly were lying to themselves to think that this team was still in it, this game was proof positive that A, they suck, and B, it should sell.
Yeah. So let's start in this game in particular because I want to kind of go smaller and then extrapolate out. And we'll do this, as you heard me say off the top. We'll try to go a little bit chronological, but I know it's going to bounce everywhere. And I'm comfortable with that. We'll see what the chat thinks as this goes. But I want to go small picture of tonight's game, and then we can take that out to what it means big picture. So let's start tonight. Okay, let's start on this one. How much of this game from the Leafs' perspective... I can't believe I said that because they played the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were outstanding from the start of this game through the rest of it. But how much of this can you hand the excuse of, well, you haven't played in a little while, you need to get your feet wet, you needed to get the legs back under you, the game legs back under you, and you know what, you were working your way into it. You scored 2 late, you made it a little bit closer and uncomfortable for Tampa versus, yeah, this just isn't a good team.
Well, the final score should have been 7-2 because
Yeah.
offsides goals, a goal that I could put in, and I haven't skated in 20 years. But Jake Gensel rings it off the pole. I mean, Stolarz. I know that some people in the chat were thinking that he actually played well. I thought he played okay, but Tampa Bay was obviously the better team. In Tampa Bay had more Olympians. Mosier and Hedman and Hagel and Gensel. So if there was a Olympic hangover, I think it was pretty balanced, or maybe even Tampa would have had more of a hangover. But they got some injured players back. No, I don't think that was a factor. I think the fact is that both teams got injured players back. Tampa's just a better team. I mean, the most valuable player, the most valuable person this evening was Jordan Bean, the video review guy for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because
Sam Kim.
He saved them right. They saved them 2 goals. But still, whenever they got a reprieve, goal. Ruled offside. Goal ruled offside. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. They get it. They get the reprieve of the Gensel hitting the goal post. They come down and score, and then they give up a goal 5 seconds later with Stolarz in net. I mean, you can't make it up. This team, I mean, they just seemed like they had no heart in it, and it wasn't just the guys who were coming back from Milano Cortina. It was all of them.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I look at in this game and say I can't give them that out. We'll talk about the score and the goals that were called back as well when we talk about some other things in this one. I have some other thoughts about the way they played and the style and everything like that, but I can't give them that excuse because Tampa also just took the same amount of time off, and as you just pointed out, they had more Olympians than what the Maple Leafs had sent over there. So that excuse isn't there. And then OEL and Nylander, who were the 2 of the 3 that you sent over to Milan, they came back a while ago. Like, they've been back, so they played hockey, and not that either of them were atrocious tonight, and I'm questioning them personally, but just in general here, they came back. They've been back for a little while. Like, they've had their time to come back. The Maple Leafs just did not look like the Tampa Bay Lightning in terms of preparedness to open this game up here tonight. That just looked like an outclassing. And when you consider where they're at compared to some of these top-end teams, like what you just saw tonight with the Tampa Bay Lightning, they are not even in the same stratosphere, Mike. They're not. And I know that we just beat Edmonton before the break, and there's going to be people who are more optimistic and look at that one and say, well, you beat the Oilers, and they're considered a cup contender. I'm going to push back on that because that's great, but The Oilers are a team that are, if you look at the NHL standings, right there with you points-wise. They're just in a different division, and they're in a more fortunate situation compared to how some of the other teams around them are doing, and they've at least had enough of a, I don't know if it's like a reputation or a history over the last little while that would suggest that they have the ability to dig out of this hole, because they haven't started every season as beautifully as they finished it and pushed to the playoffs same way they've started. So you look at Edmonton and think, hey, they can get there, but that's also a team right now that's struggling to find their way. Tampa is a much more well-oiled machine at this point in time, and you just got shown why you're not the same class as the upper tier teams in this league.
I mean, I throw the 3-game winning streak before the break completely out the window because, A, you played the worst team in the NHL in the Vancouver Canucks, and you barely beat them in overtime. Mm-hmm. You beat Calgary, and then you play Edmonton in the last game before the break, where I'm sure Connor McDavid was thinking, I'm hopping on a plane to Italy, and Leon Draisaitl's thinking the same thing. And, you know, most of the Leafs, I mean, you could say, well, Matthews and Nylander were doing the same thing, but clearly the Oilers looked distracted in that game, and the Leafs took advantage of it, and Stolarz had a good game. My assertion is they should have traded Stolarz after that game because, you know, you don't know when that, Mr. Glass is going to get hurt again. And, you know, I didn't think he played particularly well tonight, but, you know, it was a tough task against the team, as you said, that has been absolutely ridiculous the last quarter of the year. So, I mean, all we can say is, you know, we've heard this baloney, this fog of war, this, you know, BS coming from, you know, insiders that I respect. And I think they're getting this information from sources inside the Leaf organization. Well, we need to see what we do in the next 3 games. You know, the Leafs are thinking about, you know, maybe trading Bobby McMahon, but maybe they're thinking about keeping him. It depends on where. Please, I mean, for the love of God, I mean, you've had 57 games of evidence that this team doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and you're going to need 3 more games to show you that they still don't know what the hell they're doing. It's over with. Come to the realization that it's over with, and recoup some of your draft capital and some prospects for guys who are going to walk away for nothing.
Okay, I'm going to throw some options at you here, and I want you to rank them in likeliness that these are the case, all right? So we've heard, and this is based off of what you just said, because I see the same things, I hear the same things. Like, this is the same stuff we're all hearing and seeing, which is, I think, leaving Leafs Nation as a fan base with a little bit of unrest right now about how the team acts over the next week or so until the trade deadline next Friday. That's how quickly this thing is coming up. So here's some scenarios, okay? I'll throw them out at you, and you tell me the order of likeliness that you think is the reality of each of them, okay? So my first one that I'll throw at you is 1. MLSE is putting pressure on Pelly, who's obviously the head of that, but there's people behind him who are going to be more influential, and he's the guy who's the front-facing piece of it, but they're putting pressure on Pelly and Brad Treliving to make the playoffs because they've just signed a big TV deal, not MLSE in particular, but Rogers, to hold the rights in Canada. They do not want to see a season or seasons where the Maple Leafs are not in the playoffs, and they want them in the playoffs, and they want them to push, so they don't want them to sell, and that's why we're hearing this uncertainty. So that's option 1. Option 2, Brad Treliving is actually using these insiders and these people who go out and say things publicly to up value of players. And what I mean by that is we're not sure that we want to get rid of McMahon. We're not sure that we want to get rid of Lawton. We'd work on an extension. We like the guy here. We don't want to give up on the guy because then it makes other teams who are interested in your piece look at it potentially and go, well, we have to pay more to get that guy. Okay, so we can discuss that more, but like surface level, that's the second point about why this is happening. And third one, where I want to know if this is the reality, and if it is, I think this is why Leafs Nation will be in full-blown panic. They genuinely don't know. They don't know. They don't know if they're good. They don't know if they're bad. They don't know what they want to sell, or if they want to sell, or who they want to sell. They don't know. Which of those three, Mike, do you think is most likely to be occurring within the Maple Leafs organization right now for the information that we are hearing at this point in time?
I think it's somewhere between 1 and 2. I think the letter that came out to season ticket holders from Keith Pelly today sort of put some, I mean, really it confused me because I read it and I have it up right now. I can read it, but it really, I mean, it says two things at once. It uses injuries as the excuse, but then then it says, well, we're going to make adjustments and, try to reset. But okay, I mean, it's pretty confusing. I'm sure MLS and remember, this is Rogers now, not Rogers and Bell. This is Rogers. And gee, folks, before last year with the Blue Jays, they really ran the Blue Jays fantastic, didn't they? This is under new management, so to speak. So, I mean, I see the way they've operated with the Blue Jays, and I don't trust them. I don't. They have to give me a reason to trust them. I think they've been generally incompetent. Now they're throwing money at the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays had success. Okay, but before they were, well, let's develop inside the organization. Let's develop Guerrero. Let's develop Bichette. Okay, right now with the Leafs, if you take that model, there is nobody to develop other than a 20-year-old Easton Cowan who you healthy scratched again. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's some pressure from MLS and E on Pelly, and then down, crap rolls downhill to Treliving. Treliving is looking at this as, I've got to preserve my job, so I've got to take his marching orders and follow them. But they lose another game or two, and they're Buffalo won tonight. Now they're tied. Now they're 9 points ahead, or they were 7. Now they're 9 points ahead of the Leafs. Boston has a game in hand now. Washington won. You get to the weekend and they've lost 2 or lost all 3. Mathematically, they're like a 1 or 2% chance of making the playoffs. I mean, reality has to set in at some point. Okay, we just can't keep going down this road. Well, we still have a chance. Yeah, I have a chance of dating Rachel McAdams because I'm alive and breathing. So, come on. Fair enough. I mean, I think tonight they entered this game at 10% chance to make the playoffs. A loss here, and you just continue to pile up the losses. You're just going to continue to knock down that percentage likelihood of you making the playoffs. But I don't know how you could watch this and determine that this team is in a good enough position to be a playoff team this season. And I agree with you. It's probably somewhere between 1 and 2. Just in terms of the comments that they're making and trying to drive up value, and also them actually genuinely holding on and hoping in some way that this thing does turn itself around. Like they come back from the break and started tonight and beat Tampa 4-1 and roll into Florida tomorrow and thump the Cats, and you play the Sens on Saturday and you get a big win, and all of a sudden you've won 6 in a row dating back to before the break, and now you're like, well, we're kind of in this thing and maybe we don't have to go full sail mode. Outside of the points wise, Mike, the way that these guys play, it's just not good enough. And I think even to make a comment about that letter that was sent out today, as well as what the team should kind of be doing looking going forward, like Rosie said it best when he joined the sheet today, and what he said was, it's a calamity of errors. And I agree with him because I liked a lot of the signings that they made in the summer, or the acquisitions that they made in the summer. Like,
if you look at it in a vacuum, bringing in Dakota Joshua to this team, I think, is a good move. I don't have an issue with bringing in Dakota Joshua. Bringing in Nick Waugh, I think, is a good move. It adds depth to your center position. Bringing in Matthias Michelli, I think, was a lower risk, probably pretty decent move because he's a more skilled guy who's going to help with facilitating and playmaking, and he could potentially play in your top six. Those are good moves. Bringing all those guys in and nothing else were not good moves. And you look at the team, you got older by bringing all those pieces in, and by not updating your defense and by not changing anything there. You got older, you got slower, you let the older guys that you had here already age yet again, injury-prone pieces. Like, those were bad decisions, and bringing in all those guys were bad decisions to bring all of those pieces in and not look to bring any type of versatility in elsewhere in your lineup, or different ages or styles of player, etc. The other thing too here, and again, I don't want to do the whole 16 conversation. I do think they're in a better spot without him on the team, but they're not in a better spot without him on the team and not bringing anything else in. And that was an error that the team made in the summer. The error actually dates back to before his no trade clause kicked in. That was the first one, but then it goes again to not finding a solution for it when you had the opportunity to more aggressively last summer or at the deadline to bring in a more valuable piece. You just didn't. Those were errors. And then in the summer, not actively pursuing a high-end talent to replace that was a huge error there as well. There were roster construction errors. Now, where I will give Keith Pelly some credit in the letter, or maybe not credit, but some grace in the letter, Mike, when he brings up the injuries, is you put together a team that was going to take a little while to gel, and you knew that was going to be the case anyways, and then they got banged up. They are not an elite team that suffered injuries, and it was like, well, that stunk. Damn, try again. No. They did not play well, they were not coached well, they were not constructed well, and then they threw in injuries. So this is a team that maybe could have picked up some more points had they not gotten injured and been in a more favorable position than where they're currently at, Mike. But it was a lot of shit that went wrong before the injuries took place. The injuries hurt them. I'm not going to say that they didn't, but there was a lot of stuff that went sideways that made the injuries that happen be a much more significant issue that they had to overcome when that arose. It was a calamity of errors, as Rosie put it, and it's just a nightmare of a season here right now. This needs to be one that you wash away and not try to dig out of.
Yeah, and on top of that, you have a general manager who's sort of fiddling as Rome is burning. You have a situation where other than waiver claims, the last move that they made was the trade for Dakota Joshua in July. They claimed Troy Stetcher. They claimed Sammy Blais. They claimed Caden Primo. They, obviously call-ups and demotions to the Marlies. They have not made a trade since July with this team. Now, yeah, early in the season with all those without Marner and with the additions that you mentioned, it was going to take time to adjust. But they were 100% healthy until early November, until Brandon Carlo blocks a shot, until Stolarz has the nerve issue that was day-to-day for 2 months, until Tanev got hurt, I think it was November the 1st in Philadelphia. They were healthy until the beginning of November. So that's 3 weeks, and they played terribly in the first month of the season. And they've never recovered from that. They had that long streak, and around Christmas, after they fire Mark Savard, where they go 8-0-2, that just made up the ground that they lost at the beginning of the season, and then they lose 8 of 9. I mean, whatever they gained back, they gave away again. So, I mean, I would hope that Brad Treliving is floating it out to Darren Drager and David Pagnotta and other insiders out there. Well, they're thinking about they're thinking about just waiting and seeing. Well, waiting is over with. You saw it tonight. Get busy. because, and I'm not saying sell for whatever, because part of this is getting the best return possible. And they need to get the best return possible for Bobby McMann, because I wouldn't sign Bobby McMann to a 4 or 5 year deal for $4.5 to $5 million. I'm sorry. This is the same guy who disappeared in the last quarter of the regular season and in the playoffs last year. He had 20 goals and he didn't score a goal in, I think, 24 regular season and playoff games. It's nothing against him. I'm just saying, let's put it in context. He's a two-time 20-goal scorer, and he's going to walk away. And in a free agent market where Alex Tuck is the best free agent, and then it's a significant drop downward, you get something for this guy now.
Yeah, to your point, like, you're signing him on a high. You're signing him coming off of a season or in the midst of a season where he's having amazing production and he's playing really well, and it's all credit to Bobby McMann. But to your point, he has struggled at times. He struggled last year after that run that he went on, basically from March on. And I'm not talking about until playoffs. I'm talking about through playoffs. As you said, he struggled to find the back of the net, to get points, to create chances, all of that. Bobby McMann struggled. He had an amazing stretch and then it fell off. Bobby McMann has gone through basically December to this point where he's all of a sudden lit the world on fire. Before that, he wasn't jumping off the page every single night. He was picking up points here and there, but he wasn't playing the way he is right now. And now all of a sudden you're going to sign the guy long-term at some big ticket. I'm not saying you don't need these kinds of players. I think he's valuable to your team, but as you brought up what a potential contract could look like, whether it's the AAV or the term, it's going to be expensive. And the flip side of it is he's a UFA in a year that you're not competing for the playoffs here, more likely than not. And he's going to demand a high return here at the deadline. That's the type of player you move off of. And I know a lot of comparisons have been made to Zach Hyman and them walking away and people saying, well, they weren't interested in paying that ticket for a middle six to slash like, your second line kind of guy, maybe a guy who plays on your first line. They didn't want to pay that price. It's a very different situation. You're not going to trade Zach Hyman because you were good, you were competing for the playoffs, you were a top-end contender, you're not trading the guy. And then I think the decision to not re-sign him was a mistake in general. The Bobby McMann one comes in a very different context for the Maple Leafs here this season. You are in a position where you're going to miss. You need the assets. You want the guy back. You want to get him signed to some type of extension or beyond this season. Fine. See what you can do about trading him and signing him in the summer. Because right now you need the assets. Right now you need the pieces back. You're not making the playoffs. And if you hang on to this piece, you don't trade him, and you get to July 1 and he's sitting there saying, I still want $5 million, and you're saying, I don't want to pay that, somebody on the open market will, and then you'll get nothing for the guy. And that will be an all-time fuck up here. And that's the kind of stuff that you need to avoid with these players at this point in time. Like, that's where you need to recognize what you have and what the value of these players is and start to move off of them.
Yeah, I mean, the comparison you're not the first person who's brought this up between Hyman and McMann. I mean, that's Mars and Venus. I mean, it's completely, Kyle Dubas screwed up by signing Andreas Janssen and signing Kasperi Kapanen to like mid $3 million contracts, thinking they were going to grow into something. And then he couldn't sign Zach Hyman because he had the four players making over half of the salary cap. But Zach Hyman was a premier defensive forward and could play with skill. And he has continued to play with skill in Edmonton with Connor McDavid. Bobby McMann only had this spurt when he was moved to the top line with Auston Matthews. So it's a sort of an artificial, it's a sugar high. Matthew Nye should be playing with Auston Matthews. Now, if what they did was put Bobby McMann with Auston Matthews to drive his value up, then this succeeded, and that's good. But you have to actually trade him to get the value.
Otherwise, you've sewered yourself. You've upped the value of the guy to get him to sign under a contract with yourself.
Exactly. Okay, I know there are not many examples in the NHL of players getting traded from teams and then signing with them in the summer. But I am so sick and tired of this friggin' narrative where these players say, "Oh, I want to stay in Toronto so bad." Okay, then either you take less and take a hometown discount to stay here, or we're trading you because we've traded first round picks for you in the case of Scott Lawton. And we need to recoup a draft. We need to recoup draft capital. Okay, if you want to come back, if you want to come to Toronto, or if you want to stay in Toronto, go someplace for 2 months, try to win a Stanley Cup. We're here on July 1 with a bunch of cap space. We welcome you back with open arms. But are they going to do that? No, they're going to go to the highest bidder on July 1st, and Toronto will get no hometown discount or anything like that. These are commodities. This is asset management. This is what teams do, what smart teams do. If a player won't sign, and I don't even know if they should sign Bobby McMahon, but if it's a Scott Lawton because you want to keep a center and he doesn't want to take a deal that's favorable to the Leafs, sorry, Scott. Okay, we wanted to sign you. You didn't want to sign for the amount that we thought was fair. Okay, we're trading you. And good luck on the open market in July. And if you're willing to come back for the same amount, fine. But these are guys, they have to move. And I think it's more than just the pending unrestricted free agents. I think they need to move off a couple more guys. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I love the way he's playing. But again, we've talked about this before. He's 34 years old. He's never going to play better than he's playing right now. And I'm sure there are playoff teams like Detroit and Carolina and Dallas and a few others that need a defenseman that are salivating looking at what Oliver Ekman-Larsson is right now, and they could get him for a good prospect or a first round, maybe for a conditional first round pick. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you 100% on the Ekman-Larsson thing there as well. It's a guy with term left here on his deal. It's a guy that you can sell off, and he's got a favorable contract in terms of the AAV. He's got a couple years left. The team looks at that and recognizes, hey, we can get a little bit of a run with the guy where it's beyond even just this year. And to your point, okay, you keep the guy, and maybe now all of a sudden he comes back next season and doesn't play this way because he's 35 years old. The problem that you have here, and I think part of the problem that happened in the summer as well, is looking at the guys who played well and saying, well, why would we get rid of those guys? They played well. Well, they were older players, Mike. It's great to keep guys together and keep guys coming back, but Chris Tanev, he got a year older. He's an injury-prone player who's old. Jake McCabe, old. Ekman-Larsson, olds. You loaded up on this decor and kept the decor back that we all loved last year. I have no issues with what they did last year, but you brought them back again and expected them to do the same thing when they're all early to mid 30s. Unfortunately, in the world of the NHL, that's ancient. You are approaching the point of ancient with these guys, and it's not a knock on them, but we just expected them to replicate that. The same goes for Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You watch this game from this guy tonight. He had a ton of jump. He was buzzing all over the ice. He was getting up in the rush quickly. He made a terrible play on the Gage Gonzalez goal. Besides that, I thought Ekman-Larsson had a pretty good night. I thought he was very noticeable. I thought he was impactful. And I think a lot of other teams around the league, to your point, look at that and say, hey, you put that guy onto a third pair where he's not playing 24 minutes a night. He plays 18. He jumps in the offense. He contributes down lower in our lineup. He takes on more favorable matchups. This is a dominant player. Now you can sell off that piece. Now you bring back assets. That's where you have to start looking with this. But even beyond that, Mike, where we're talking about the trades that need to be made, looking into next season and how this goes, and personally how I think, and I'm worried that they won't, given how they want to kind of be tight on financials here right now within the organization. I think you got to move off the coaching staff. And I don't know how you go about it in terms of who you bring in right now to for the rest of the season. My suggestion, it's like kind of jokingly but kind of not, is Bruce Boudreau to get you through the end of the season, because I think he's a guy who will just come in here and have fun, and this is his dream and the fan base will love him. But more so because I think you got to get Berube away from this organization and get a fresh set of eyes and let these young kids come through here and play, which is something Berube is not doing right now. And I know I'm going long-winded on this here, Mike, but like to mix into that, you look at the deployments of Auston Matthews by Craig Berube, he uses him like he's Phil Deneau. Like, we make jokes that when Auston Matthews is not playing that well offensively, he's Phil Deneau at $13 million. Well, Berube is also deploying him like that. Like, he gives him the toughest matchups. He starts him in the D zone all the time. Like, he's loading him up there against other teams' top lines more often than not. And I understand he's so good defensively, he can carry that load. But he's also a guy that you're paying to score 50 fucking goals. Like, you don't want to just look out there and be like, well, he was a 0 tonight, perfect. He held them off the board. No! You want the guy also scoring and producing and generating and dominating his minutes. Craig Berube's not doing that. He's not letting the kids play. He doesn't want them in the lineup. You also look at the defensive side of things and the structure that they have. It's terrible. The power play, not good enough. The transition game, not good enough. Like, just all the way through, this thing is not good enough, and you need to start to get these things cleaned up and transitioned now so that you can get yourself ready if what Keith Pelly is saying is true about wanting to contend next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for a coaching change, but I think if they fired Berube before the end of the season, it would simply be Derek Lalonde as the interim coach, and then they would find a new coach for next season. But I don't think they're going to fire Berube before the end of the year. I think, but the thing is, if Treliving goes out and trades 3 or 4 players, then by osmosis, it's going to be, okay, well, now you have to play Jacob Quillen because we've traded Scott Lawton. And now you have to play Easton Cowan because we traded Bobby McMahon. Unless you're getting, if you're trading Bobby McMahon to Edmonton and you have to take Andrew Mangiapane back in the deal, then, Mangiapane gets put into the lineup and Easton Cowan continues to twiddle his thumbs and eat popcorn in the press box instead of playing at Coca-Cola Coliseum and playing 20 minutes a night, which is an absolute disaster. You have a kid play, whether it's here or whether it's in the American Hockey League. You don't let him sit. And they made the mistake before the All-Star break. And I don't know how many people talked about, or All-Star break, before the Olympic break. I don't know how many people talked about this. They screwed up in terms of sending Easton Cowan back to the American Hockey League before the roster freeze. And once the roster freeze was in place, they couldn't send him down to the American Hockey League because of a rule in the CBA that didn't allow them. He had played too many games and he could not be sent down to the American Hockey League. And that's if they don't know the rules for because he could have been playing in the AHL for 2 weeks and gaining strength and experience and whatever, because he was a healthy scratch for the 2 or 3 games before the break. But no, he was sitting and then he was practicing at Ford Performance Center instead of playing AHL games with the Marlies, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the other thing here too is Justin Bourne pointed this out, which it does need to be considered because it's not just about the scratching and the date they sent him down. But Justin Bourne pointed out he didn't just need 2 scratches to be eligible. He also couldn't have been on the roster for more than 80 days as of January 20th, meaning he'd have needed to be sent down 2 weeks somewhere too, which made it a bigger challenge for the Maple Leafs, which is a good point to bring up. But my counterpoint, not to Justin, but to the team and to the Maple Leafs, is you scratched the kid numerous times. There were numerous stretches where he was out for a game or a couple of games. You talk about the opening of the season. I don't believe if I remember correctly, he opened or started on the roster on opening night. Like, there were numerous occasions, Mike, he could have been with the Marlies, whether it was going to be paper transactions or if it was going to be getting him in and playing on the Marlies to give him experience. There was numerous opportunities for the Maple Leafs to do so until January 20th, and they chose not to. Not sending him down earlier and getting those games to be lined up properly was a massive error by this group. Not having the foresight about how this Olympic break could take place and impact a kid like that was a massive mistake when it came to the foresight of this team. Like, there was just not enough preparation, there was not enough planning, and to the credit of the team in years past, those are things I believe would have been taken care of in the proper manner. Sure, we can debate roster construction and trades and signings and all that kind of stuff. I do think that there was a lot of mistakes, but this is one of those things I think they would have handled properly. Like, you know, it was pointed out to me on Twitter, Mike, somebody wanted Ryan Leonard to go down as well, just during the break to be able to get an opportunity to play. The reason I think it's different for Washington is because they look at a kid who stepped up out of college, joined their team into the playoffs, was really good, and has had a really good start to the season. You're expecting the kid to be a part of your team all year long. We didn't fucking know with Easton Cowan. There was a question mark on the kid. And every time you sat him in the press box and didn't play, you burnt days off of that criteria to send him down for the Olympic break. This is stuff that this team has not been taking care of to this point under this regime that is just mind-boggling, because this is completely poor asset management. I said it earlier, Mike. The handling of Easton Cowan is malpractice when it comes to asset management. Malpractice. The inability to prepare for this stuff, the inability to lay things out and be prepared and schedule stuff out properly, it's a complete and utter disaster by these guys. And I know that in a lot of situations, injuries arose and you want the guy to play, but at the same time, you had other kids you could have brought up. You had other people you could have brought up from the Marlies to fill those holes for shorter periods of times. It's a fucking joke right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's asset management questions and there's handling of the roster questions. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend to know that I think Jacob Quillen is going to be a star center in the National Hockey League or even a good third line center. But the only way to find out is to play him. And right now, he's 31 points in 36 games with the Marlies. When he was called up, a couple times when they actually gave him a shift or two, when he played more than 7 minutes, he actually looked good. How are you going to know? His contract, his 2-year contract is up. He's a restricted free agent. I mean, you could qualify him, but the thing is, it's like, okay, how are you going to know what you're qualifying? You have to find out. And part of what they need to do before the deadline is clear out, not dead weight, but okay, Calle Jarnkrok, if anybody wants him, if you're getting a 6th round pick, move him, right? Just move him. Yeah. I think you need to move one of Lawton or Waugh. If Lawton doesn't sign a contract, you move Lawton. If he does sign a contract, you move Waugh. You know, they're both basically the same type of player. I think Waugh is a higher functioning can play third line and is not bad, but he's not going to score. He's going to score 10 to 15 goals a year. I mean, you move one of them, and that opens up a spot for at least the last 20 games of the season to find out what Jacob Quillen is. And if he's not capable, he's not capable of being an NHLer, then there's one more thing that you have to address in the summer. But right now, you're going to have to address that in the summer anyway, because Lawton will have walked away for nothing. So there are certain things that you need to do over the next week to make decisions, to decide, are we going to do this or are we going to twiddle our thumbs? And, right now, I mean, I keep saying, okay, this is it. Now they've got to realize it's over with. Now they've got to start, selling in earnest. But they win tomorrow against Florida. And they'll say, well, we got to, we're only 6 points out now. Or if Boston loses and we win, well, we're only 4 points out. Stop lying to yourself.
I'm ready for them to just admit defeat. Let's move on. Let's move forward with this thing. Let's clean it up. And let's get ready to go at it next year. This is the point where we start to bounce back and forth all over the place. We went from in the game to big picture. Now I want to kind of take it back into the game a little bit here. There's a lot of questions going into this game about whether or not Auston Matthews would play and the usage he would get and the minutes he would get, to which I kind of question some of it, to be honest with you, and you tell me if you think this is idiotic, but I kept hearing them on the broadcast, at least here, the one we were watching in Toronto or Ontario, was, I think he'll get under a certain amount of minutes. I don't think he'll play that much here tonight. I think they'll give him a break. To which I just kept thinking, and not saying, hey, I want this guy run out there for 25 minutes tonight, but Auston Matthews is just coming off the best hockey, the best quality of hockey, I should say, that he's played in all season long. The highest tempo, intensity, the pace, like he's coming off of that. Then he's rolling in here. Yes, they partied for 2 days after winning a gold medal, to which I think is all fair. It's the first Olympic gold medal for U.S. in 46 years. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to jump in and ask questions about that, the partying and that stuff. He joined the team last night. He's ready to go here today. The last time he played was on Sunday morning. I didn't understand why there were so many questions about how many minutes he would play in this one. Felt like the guy was ready. He was healthy. He wanted to go. Why not play him and play him as usual here tonight? You saw Jake Gensel. You saw Braden Point, who came back from injury. You saw the Olympians on the Tampa Bay Lightning all play their regular minutes. Why would Auston Matthews not? But what'd you make of his game here tonight and how he looked in this one against Tampa? Because I thought he looked fine. I thought he looked like he fit right back into this. I mean, maybe not as dominant as we would like your $13 million captain / first line center to be, but I thought he looked good.
He looked better than I thought he was going to look. Honestly, he had to be. I think he was probably sweating out vodka or whatever he was drinking for the first and second period, because I mean they were partying from like 15 minutes after they won that game, because on the NBC broadcast, Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes were shit-faced. They were tanked. And I'm sure the rest of the team was as well. And that continued on through that night and on the charter, and then in Miami, and then, probably a little bit during the trip to the White House. But then, I know that there was a lot of criticism. Well, is he going to show up? If he doesn't show up, what kind of captain is he? Well, he showed up. And I think he played better than I expected him to play. But he wasn't the dominating and people, he was playing defensive. He was the second leading scorer on Team USA. It was Quinn Hughes and Jack Hughes and Auston Matthews. So he had 6 points in, I think, 7 games. That's pretty good. He played defensively. 7 points. Thank you. He played a role. I think he wasn't their number one center. That was Jack Eichel. He played really well. He comes back here, and instead of having Matt Boldy and Gensel on his line, he's got Bobby McMahon and Max Domi. That's a little bit of a shift downward. Yeah. So I didn't get the criticism. If he had missed this game, I wouldn't have been critical of him, but because I don't think had Canada won the gold medal, people would have been critical of Connor McDavid missing a game, because Canada was partying all that much. So let's be equal here. But it's Auston Matthews, and I'm still curious to see what the reaction is going to be like on Saturday at Scotiabank Arena when they honor him at the first TV timeout and say, congratulations, Auston Matthews, on winning the Olympic gold. And it's a bunch of, Leaf fans who are all Canadian, and they're not happy with it. And they'll boo. They'll probably give him a pleasant clap like they did to Matt Sundin 20 years ago when he won the gold. They'll boo Brady Tkachuk, but I'm a little concerned about that, because I think it would be a very ugly scene if they boo Auston Matthews, because they booed the fans who were at Scotiabank Arena and booed him when they were having the watch party and he's wearing the U.S. flag. not a great look. I understand it, believe me, because being an American, had Canada won, I wouldn't have been happy, but they won. Canada's the best team in the world, and they had a phenomenal game, and the Canadians got goalied by Connor Hellebuck. But coming back to Matthews tonight, I thought he looked better than I thought he was going to look. I'm a little surprised that he played almost 23 minutes. Now tomorrow in the second of back-to-back, are they going to play him a little less? I mean, I would think that they would, since he's been playing through these 2 weeks and John Tavares has been resting, and other players who have been resting should play more. But I don't know whether Craig Berube and his time management has always been ass backwards. So do I expect anything to change? No.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, in terms of like the reception he gets on Saturday, I personally hope it's positive. He's the captain of your team. He just captained the U.S. to a gold medal. And I know that it's against Canada, and as a Canadian hockey fan, it fucking sucked. But I thought he was outstanding in that final game. I thought he was really good all tournament long. Was he dominant in the tournament? No. But was he very, very, very reliable for them? Yes. And by the way, maybe it was just to take shots at Toronto. Maybe it was just because they actually believe this, but every player and coach and management member for the United States that was involved in that team came out during and after the tournament and spoke so highly of him as a captain, as a player, as a leader, all of it. So if we're going to sit here on our couches and criticize him as a leader and all that kind of stuff, what he's like in the room, I think we just need to give our heads a shake. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but some of that stuff we just don't see. And for myself personally, it was a moment of like maybe reflection and saying, okay, what the fuck do I know? If the best players and coaches and managers in the world look at this guy and put him on that pedestal in terms of a leader and a captain, and they all want him to be wearing that, and they all speak so highly of him, maybe we need to take a breather. I got no issue with him winning it. I wish that the Canadians won. I wish that the U.S. were not the team walking around with gold medals on their neck, but my feelings on that have nothing to do with Auston Matthews. I just wanted fucking Canada to win. And he's the captain of it. He's the captain of your team. You should show him some respect for leading the U.S. to winning. I mean, you got to leave it at that.
And I'd like to know, what is it about Toronto? Because after, he was wearing 93 in red and white or red and black, whatever jersey they were wearing. When that particular player scored his game-winning overtime goal against Czechia, you had Mark Stone come out and you had Brandon Hagel come out and basically casting aspersions on Toronto. This guy's not clutch. Well, that's just a narrative being sold by the Toronto media. No, that's the narrative being sold because the guy was a choke artist for 9 friggin' years. That's why. So I'm sorry. It's like, but it always seems like that Toronto is the center of criticism when it comes to the focus on a particular narrative when it came to Mitch Marner and when it came to Auston Matthews. I mean, I don't think Quinn Hughes and Jack Hughes' comments after they won were anti-Toronto because they grew up in Toronto. They were here for a few years while their dad, Jim, was a director of player development for the Leafs.
Right.
So they know the Toronto area. I'm sorry. It's like, Toronto is not the epicenter of all that is evil. It's a pretty damn good town. I'm sorry. And they love their hockey, and all they want to do is see their team win. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. And the comments about Mitch, I mean, I don't think anybody here in Toronto ever doubted that he was an amazing player. Like, that's where things get lost in this. It's less so to do with how good of a player he is. It was more to do with the playoff performances and the clutchness, which these guys all talked about. Oh, it's just a Toronto narrative. Really? How about you just take a look at that chart that circulates anytime anybody talks about him doing amazing things, that shows 7 points in 21 elimination games and 0 goals, 7 assists, which somebody, by the way, Mike, pointed to me and said, well, he's never goal scorer, so why are you looking for him to do that? Well, and when you make $11 million or whatever the fuck he was making, sometimes you could score 1. I think that's okay. I think you're allowed. But
well, other than that pass to Devin Taves that Hellebuck made that ridiculous save on, I heard someone joke that Mitch Marner only plays non-clutch when he's wearing blue and white, so somebody must have sent him some blue and white underwear to wear.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. The other guy that I want to talk about here tonight quickly, you brought him up earlier, but just kind of final thing for me on this game tonight that I want to go over with you. Anthony Stolarz, his performance, obviously we're going to get Joseph Woll tomorrow night, but you said it earlier, so just to kind of circle back, you thought he was all right in this one. I would agree with you. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he's the reason they lost, but I just don't think he was exceptional. The one thing that I realize with Stolarz is sometimes it looks like he's a little bit uncomfortable in there, and I've noticed that a lot since he got back. Not to say he was fighting the puck tonight, but it's a little bit accentuated when he goes out and gets a rebound or makes a first save going from one side to the other. It felt a little bit scrambly in the net, but otherwise I thought he was all right. Maybe that's all there is to it here tonight, Mike, but just if there was anything else you had to add about Stolar's game, because I'm not jumping out of my chair saying what a performance from the guy tonight, but it was a quiet one, which I guess is okay.
Yeah, scrambly was one way I would describe it. I sort of off kilter. Darren Pang was impressed with his performance on the TNT broadcast. But like I said, I mean, he let in 2 goals that he didn't know they were offside. They got waved off because they were offside. I didn't think he was particularly strong. He bit on the Gonsalves break.
Hard. Yeah. He was gone, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's what I mean. It's like, I mean, if you're talking about comparing side by side Woll and Stolarz, I think technically Woll is a much better goaltender. Mm-hmm. But Stolarz is a better handler of the puck. And he's a bigger guy, Woll's big, but he's a bigger guy, so he blocks more shots. But I'm sorry, the injury, and Woll's had his injury issues, but not as much lately. The injury issue with Stolarz continues to be a narrative with him that, I mean, if there was any, and I don't know how truthful it is that there is interest in Stolarz or whether they would be able to move him before the 4-year contract kicks in. But I looked around the league, and a team like Utah might make sense because they've got Vemelka as their number 1, and they have no number 2, and they got a ton of cap space. And they might be interested in somebody no matter what the term left on the contract is. So, I mean, if there is an avenue to jettison and get rid of that guy before that contract kicks in, I would hope Brad Treliving exercises that option quickly because unless they want to be the Buffalo Sabres next year and carry 3 goaltenders, because Dennis Hildeby will not be able to clear waivers. He's not waiver exempt any longer. Then they're going to have to make a decision on one of the goalies. And one is 31 and injury prone, and the other one is 26 and less injury prone. And the goalie that's down with the Marlies right now is an NHL goaltender. So I think they have to make a decision whether it's now or over the summer. And to me, it's a clear decision. You trade Stolarz and you keep Woll and you keep Hildeby.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. If there's a guy that's got to go or would go, it would be him. I think that when you look at this deadline and you look at teams out there who could be potentially looking for goaltenders and starting to call around, you put one of those guys on the table. Obviously, Stolarz would get less in return than a guy like Joseph Woll, but if you make them available when it comes to asset management and recouping assets, there's one right there that I would look at and say, say, hey, that's a guy that you start to look at. Where are the best options? Where are the best fits and what teams need them? Because you've got Hill to be coming through. You've got Joseph Woll, who is the younger option. And if you're going to compare injuries, they're about the same. Woll's just the younger one who, to your point, which I would agree with, more technically sound. So that would be where I would look as well. I think that's it for me here tonight, Mike. I'll have you back on ahead of the deadline as well. We'll talk more about that, more about what the team is deciding to do, what they publicly say they'll do, what we hear from people that they'll do, all of that. So I'll get you on here before we go into the deadline as well. But any final thoughts on tonight's game?
Well, not on tonight's game, but just throughout the NHL, because I was watching the Buffalo-New Jersey game while I was watching this one as well, and boy, it was just ugly. There was definitely a level of rust, and you couldn't tell that with Tampa because Tampa should have scored 7 goals and only scored 4. They were the exception to the rule, but Buffalo and New Jersey looked like they had never played hockey. It was really ugly, and the Leafs looked completely out of their depth. So I'm sure the product will get a little better as, some of these players shake off the cobwebs after, being in Aruba for 2 weeks or wherever they went. But yeah, it's going to be, we're 9 days away from the deadline. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of moves, and we saw Tyler Myers getting healthy scratch tonight in Vancouver, waiting for a trade. I'm sure he won't be the only one that will be on the move over the next 9 days.
By the way, on the Myers thing, I love that he took part in warm-up. We all knew he wasn't playing. He knew he wasn't playing. The team knew he wasn't playing. He just went out to skate. You think he's just like, man, this is my last time wearing a Canucks uniform. I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna enjoy the moment. I'm gonna enjoy the fact that I get to wear this jersey. Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, no, that's pretty bizarre. But yeah, no, I guess it's in his court. Apparently they contacted the agent and he's mulling it over. I don't think there's much to mull over there. You're on the worst team in the league. I would think, you'd be, unless it's going someplace. Vancouver's a nice town to play hockey in, but they're an organization in disarray right now. So if he's going to a team that's a contender and it's a nice place to live, then I would say it's going to happen pretty quickly.
Oh, well, here you go. Last thing before you leave. Take this and you chew on this tonight when you get off the show, Mike, okay? Think about this one. Joshua Disatel in the chat says, Leafs have scouts at Canucks versus Jets game tonight. Well, there you go. Maybe Brad's looking for a long-rangey defenseman.
Trading for Luke Schenn again, 3.0.
God. I was thinking Tyler Myers, but yeah, Luke Schenn here. Yeah, okay. If that's the move that gets made, my head will explode live on camera during the trade deadline show here, part of this network. Mike, thank you for taking the time to call in here tonight. I appreciate it. As always, you enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Zach.
There you go. Mike in Buffalo from the Hockey Hot Stove, covering the Toronto Maple Leafs. Make sure to check out Mike's stuff. Always a great read. Always a great follow on Twitter as well. I enjoy talking to Mike. I enjoy having him here on the post-game show. If that Tyler Myers shit. I saw that comment and internally I was laughing. I just didn't want Mike to think I was laughing at him. I was reading that and in my head I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? This is the path that we're going to go down. Dear God, that is some scary shit. If the idea that they're out there looking at these kinds of players or just evaluating that. I guess in some way, maybe they're evaluating other players from some of these teams and looking and saying, hey, what do you have for younger guys? What do you have for younger talent? What could we bring back? What do you want? I don't fucking know. But if you're trading for a Myers or a Luke Schenn, just blow the whole thing up. Like, just start again. Move the team to Hamilton. Move the team to Markham. I don't know. But if that's the moves that are going to be made here right now, holy shit, people here in this organization need to give their heads a shake. Let's get now to our best bet segment. Our best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code NATION. That's NATION, promo code NATION. NATION, must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. Our best bet for tonight, well, we had 3 of them actually, so it did not go our way completely on this one. We do end up losing a little bit of money. We lose $50 on a Nylander anytime goal. We lose $50 on an Auston Matthews anytime goal. That is 1 unit down, but we also had a quarter of a unit on Matthew Knies, who is the Tampa Bay killer. He does score, so that profits us $87.50 here. So Matthew Knies does help mitigate the damage and mitigate the disaster that could have taken place here tonight. We end up losing $12.50 on the night, brings our total to down 1.18 units on the year. So that is your best bet for tonight's game. We're going to get to callers here in 1 second. I see callers are lining up here to call into the post-game show. If anybody else wants to call in, make sure to hit that link that is pinned at the top of the chat. You want to give your thoughts, your opinions, your comments, your concerns, all of that. You click on that link, you call into the show. I'm happy to hear what any of you guys have to say, no matter what it is about tonight's game, the season as a whole, what the team does going forward. I don't care. Call into the show. Let's hear it all. With that, let's get to our first caller here of the night. Let's welcome to the program Maxentius Decimus. Max, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Not bad. I would like to say I'm glad to have NHL hockey back, but when it comes to watching Leafs hockey, maybe not so glad given the performance we saw tonight. Max, especially coming off of the performances that we had over the Olympic break and how good that hockey was, especially in the knockout stage. So I'm good, but I guess more so hoping it gets better.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching the Slovakia game, and I was criticizing them. Oh, their power play isn't that great, or they look like they're really outclassed by the USA or whatever, you know what I mean? And then it was like, man, I shouldn't have been criticizing them. I just watched this game with the Leafs. I'm like, bro, this team sucks. Like, yeah. Slovakia would mop the floor with this team.
Yeah, watching the intensity of the execution and just the passion that was displayed in those games compared to what we saw tonight was shocking. I mean, the opening of this game here tonight, Max, I said the only word I could use to describe it was jarring. It was jarring how good the hockey was compared to what the hockey is that we just watched tonight, especially from a Leafs perspective. And I mean, I wrote in my notes the same thing that Mike brought up, and we all criticize Auston Matthews and say, he's got to be able to carry a line. You know what? When you put into context who he's playing with, I think we should almost give him more credit. Because he's been playing with Max fucking Domi and Bobby McMahon, and he's looked amazing over the past 2 months. And then you watch him at playing with America, and he's playing with Boldy, and he's playing with Gensel, and he's moving around in some different opportunities. And on that power play, and you realize when he goes from that, and then he goes to Domi and McMahon, it's like, holy fuck, the drop-off that this guy's experiencing is significant. Again, I think it brings back to, I think that brings it all back to the roster construction we saw take place this summer. But, man, wild stuff.
Yeah, and after going from watching Cale Makar on PP1 to watching Rielly, like, a little part of me just died inside, you know? Like, just watching this team tonight, like, part of me died. I was like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the Morgan Rielly thing too, like, earlier today I did my game preview here right on this channel, and I was talking about the lineup and who was playing and who was back in. I said, Leafs Nation as a whole, anybody who thought there was a chance of making the playoffs must have just immediately saw the lineup and saw that he was playing and went, it's over. Like, he's playing, it's over. Because the record that they have without him in the lineup and the record they had going into the break, it was all looking up. Morgan Rielly's out. He's not playing. You look at the defensive errors he makes. You look at the power play that he's... you look at the power play that he's running. It's a nightmare. That guy needs a change of scenery.
Yeah, and I think I agree with Mike with Stolars, and I agree that like I think this team just needs some trade to happen during the trade deadline. Like there needs to be some input from management saying that like we understand what's going on here, because right now we're all sitting there and we're all questioning what Pelly is or Keith Pelly, where the hell his name is. Like, what are they doing? Does no one recognize the issues? Because we all see the issues. We all see the issues that this team has, and I think that a lot of fans are just really questioning whether the management actually understands what the issues are.
Yeah, which I think is driving the unrest here in Toronto, right? Like the fact that we see this and we see the way they play, and then we hear these comments about waiting to determine what to do. I think everybody, even those people, Max, correct me if I'm wrong from what you see and what you feel. I think everybody involved in this fan base and watching this, even the people who felt optimistic at times, and even myself feeling optimistic at times, even going into the Olympic break thinking this is a team that could go on a run. Not saying that they would or they're good enough to do it, but just, you come back, the bounces go right. You still needed to move pieces. Like, you need to get assets back. You have to. That's the way this season needs to go. That's what you need to accept with this year. And to hear that management and MLSE and Keith Pelly aren't bought into that idea, it's concerning. Because I think we all know you need to get rid of guys and you need to bring back draft capital and younger players and prospects. And to hear that they're not committed to that, it's a scary thought.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating listening to the morning show. You had Sid Sixero on there, and he was just essentially pointing out. I'm not gonna say shitting on because like he's right, but like he was shitting on Elise, saying that like most other teams in the league actually respect their first round picks, and after going through last year, we sent two of them away. And we got back a Carlo and a Lawton who got hurt. And it's like, I think that is something that, a lot of Canadian teams struggle with is the American teams, and KPG has said this before, is a lot of the American teams are more business savvy and they treat it like a business and they'll do what needs to be done. And I just don't think the Toronto management really cares. It's Harold Ballard all over again. Just collect your paycheck.
It does feel a lot more financially motivated than it is driven by success, and that's a sad thing for this fan base to kind of realize that is happening, because the idea of even MLSE trying to get back to the playoffs because of the TV deal and not because they're trying to get this team to win, that's sad. Like, the goal should be to win. And if taking a reset for a year is the way that you have to get there, and committing to a hard retool, soft retool, however the fuck you want to word it, but retooling this team and bringing back resources, bringing back assets to clean things up and to reset and get ready for next year, if that's the way that you have to go about this, and if tanking this thing out to get picks or whatever is the way you have to go about this, then that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be hanging on and just hoping that you're going to be in the playoffs this year, or just trying to patchwork your way through it to be back in the playoffs next year. It needs to be a hockey decision and not a business decision. And I know that's easier for me to say because the money's not coming out of my pocket, and a down year financially doesn't affect me negatively, but do you want to win or do you want to make money? And I know that a lot of people want to do both, but sometimes one may have to sacrifice for the other. And if they're not willing to accept that, then I don't know where the fuck we're going to get with this group or this team or this organization as we go forward.
Yeah, and you brought up something interesting that, like when you think about Crosby or, say Marchand or even Tkachuk or whatever, people always talk about like the influence that, say, Crosby has on the management. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, does Matthews and Nylander have, and even Tavares have like no impact on the team management? Or like, are they not involved at all? Do they not care about winning either? Like, do they only care about money too? Like, where's the thought process with them
Well,
if they want to actually win a cup?
Well, what is it that you think that, like, my pushback will be, what do you think that they could do? Like, they obviously want to win. They're going to want to be in the playoffs. They'll want to be there. So what is it that they could do or say, or what could their involvement be to do anything different?
I think I'm just talking more generally about like this is not acceptable. We want to win. We want to have like change. We want a winning culture here, and like I just question their involvement in it, like because they just both seem really happy losing.
I mean, I don't know that I wouldn't correlate like the decisions by management with them being happy losing personally. I wouldn't say that that's the case. I'm not going to put that on them there. I just like, I think that even if they want to win and stuff, though, the problem then becomes, hey, we want to win. We want to be in the playoffs. This isn't acceptable. Is that just a message that's sent to them to say, hey, let's fix it and get this thing right now? Because, like, I don't know. These guys want to compete. They want to be in the playoffs every single season. That's what we all assume is the case for the players, or want to be the case for the players. I just don't know what them having any input in management is going to do. Like even Sidney Crosby missing the playoffs, I'm sure he's looking at those seasons where they're barely missing when we all know the Penguins aren't very good, and he's saying, I want to be in the playoffs. But what does that, like, I just don't know what that does for them.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Matthews is happy playing next to McMahon and Domi?
Oh, I don't know, man. If you ask Prague, who when he calls in here, he says Matthews demands to play with Domi, then the answer is yes. I don't know. Like, I think he'd rather play with higher end talent, but I think that I mean, honestly, like, no. I think he'd rather play with higher end talent. Like, just at the bare minimum, yeah, I think he'd rather play with higher end talent. So I'll leave it at that with my answer.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, do I think he's upset playing with them? No. I don't think he's upset playing with them, and we saw them have success. And we saw him have success with them, so I'm not going to say that he hates it or anything, or as you just said, yeah, I don't think he hates them, like, but I think he would look around and say, I would rather play with better players than these guys. I would rather play with higher end talent and other guys who can be here to help or lift that weight off my shoulders a little bit. So yeah, that would be my answer.
The only reason I say that is because he's paid 13.25, and like he's supposed to be one of the top superstars. So I feel like his voice should, if he has a voice in that room, should have some weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's something they do in the summer, not something to do right now. And also, I would say if he was desperate to play with Matthew Knies, then he would probably be playing with Matthew Knies.
Fair enough.
I also do think part of this right now is what Mike said, and I think he's right in that there's an element, I don't know about the Domi aspect, that one is mind-boggling to me, but the McMahon one, where it props up his value. Going into the trade deadline, play with Auston Matthews, get your cookies, get your points, prove that you could be a top 6 guy at minimum, where you're probably going to go somewhere where you're not going to play top 6. You're going to play middle 6, potentially bottom 6. But if you show that you can play in a top 6 role, somebody will go pay for that piece and potentially pay more because they look and go, oh shit, Bobby McMahon picked up 20-something goals. Bobby McMahon picked up this many points. So then it elevates his standing around the league and what teams might be willing to pay for.
Yeah, I agree with that fully. Yeah, it's a smart decision if you're going to move him to put him on your top line and pad those stats.
Also, another thing, Max, is if that's the case, if they are playing with these guys with him to showcase him, this could actually potentially be, and I'm maybe putting words in his mouth or making a grand assumption here, which I don't want to fully do, but just the devil's advocate to it, Max, is that could be him willing to take a reset for the greater good. What I mean by that is recognizing if these guys play with me, we can up the out value. We can reset for next year. We can trade pieces. We can get Bobby's value up. We can trade him. Not to say he wants Bobby gone and doesn't like the guy, but if the team says, hey, we got to do this because we got to put the guy there, we got to showcase this piece, maybe he's being a soldier. We've heard by numerous insiders, they've all said, Matthews wants to be here. He wants to be a Maple Leaf. He wants to win in Toronto. He wants to be a part of this team. Maybe it is him accepting that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like it's just I'm a random ass fan just speculating on shit. So realistically,
but that's fine. That's what that's what the show's here for, Max. That's the whole point of this show.
Yeah, it's just just some thoughts that popped in my head, and one of the other things that really made me hate life today is just watching Morgan Rielly again. I just. I had to wait this long to bring it up, but like I cannot stand watching Morgan Rielly play hockey. Like it really makes my life miserable.
Dude, I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people are in that same boat as you. I do expect personally that that Morgan Rielly will be traded. I think that will happen, but I don't think it's going to happen at this deadline. I think that there's going to be a full reset here in the summer coming. I hope at least where they have a conversation and say, hey, this isn't working. How can we figure this out? How can we move these pieces around? And I think he's going to be a part of it because I think that there just becomes a point where everybody needs a clean slate. Morgan Rielly, at this point in his career, he's been an amazing soldier for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the fans, the community, all of it. It's time to move on. It just doesn't work here anymore. You're hanging on to the piece. You need the money. You need the roster spot. You need that role opened up. And then you start to look elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were frustrated with him returning to the lineup and his level of play tonight.
Yeah, and I have to preface that, like, for the first, say, 5 years of his career, maybe even a little bit more than that, a lot of people were really hard on Rielly, and I was a Rielly supporter. I was like, I like him on PP1, you know? Like, I think he does a good job there. And, you know, I was contrary to that. But then the last few years, it's just kind of like, it's like, you know, a pet dog is just getting too old and can't walk anymore. And you're like, I got to put you down. You know, like,
time to take old Yeller out back.
You know, I love you. You've been very nice, but like, time to take you out back and, you know, give you the old treatment.
Yep. I think we're at that point with Morgan Rielly as well. I can't really disagree with you. Like, I think he's a guy who can be serviceable to another team in another role, but just the usage they want to give him, how they want to have him perceived here in Toronto, still running him out on power play 1, still playing him on penalty kill 1, still using him as the number 1 defenseman. We're past the point. We're past the point. We gotta reset this. Like, it's got to be a reset all the way around, and I think it just kind of goes to the flushing of the past. You know, Morgan Rielly was here in the 2013 season. That's how long he's been a part of this group. He saw that collapse. He's been a part of all of the failures. I'm not saying they're his fault. He's just been here for them. He's been a part of it. Let's clean this out. Let's start this again, and I think he's one of the pieces that has to go.
Yeah, I think that this team has a lot of good parts, and I think that we're a little bit too much doom and gloom on them right now because obviously this season is a wash. But we still have a couple top-tier players. We have a decent decor. We have a whole bunch of good goaltenders. We just really need to get rid of, in my opinion, Michelli, Domi. We haven't seen enough about Joshua, but like Joshua, Waugh, they've all been flops. All the tree living players he's brought in, like they've all done nothing. And so that's why I think like if he can make a move at the deadline, recoup something on like OEL or McMahon or even Stolarz, whatever, and then in the off season try and figure out how to, give someone to play with Matthews that doesn't suck.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think you look at with this team and say, hey, what can we move now? And then the other part of it is reconstructing this in the summer. Like, okay, Matthews, let's get you someone else to play with. And I saw in the chat, people are bringing up like Matthews and playing with Domi and McMahon and comparing it to Sidney Crosby and saying Sidney Crosby played with fourth liners. Well, first of all, I'm going to jump in on that and just completely shut that down right away. To suggest that Chris Kunitz and Pascal Dupuis were fourth liners is completely disrespectful and out of touch of the game of hockey as a whole, and to who Chris Kunitz and Pascal Dupuis were as players. That's ridiculous. And I don't know if people forget or just short-sighted or short-minded, whatever, but Chris Kunitz played on Team Canada and played with Sidney Crosby, and you could say that that's because of Sidney Crosby all you want. Sure, I'm not going to argue against that, but the matter of fact is he was a good enough player to play on Team Canada. If he wasn't, they're not going to bring him there just because he's Crosby's boy. So that's where I'm going to jump in on. And the other thing is, Auston Matthews has looked amazing with Max Domi and with Bobby McMahon up until the Olympics. I'm going to kind of disregard tonight, but Max Domi is not Pascal Dupuis and Chris Kunitz. Bobby McMahon is not either of those guys, and he's still made them look good leading up to the Olympics here. I'm not going to put this on Auston Matthews in terms of how those guys look with Domi and McMahon around him. Like, you still would rather play with better players. Sidney Crosby playing with Jake Gensel for their Stanley Cup win is far different than Auston Matthews playing with Bobby McMahon and Max Domi. Auston Matthews just returned from the Olympics playing with fucking Jake Gensel. So, a little bit ridiculous to suggest that. Like, little bit ridiculous to suggest that. But, yeah, it's time to just kind of look at how you construct this team. Look at how you can make changes, get younger, get faster, approach this differently in the summer. It's time to reset, man. It's time to reset.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is over the Olympics, I feel like I'm not going to be as hard on Matthews.
Yeah.
Because like he actually went out there and he won a gold, and everyone was talking about Marner. Oh, you got that 3-on-3 overtime goal. Oh, Marner, you traded the wrong one. You traded the wrong ones. Like, who won silver? You know?
Yeah.
Where are all the Marner stands right now? They're fucking quiet. Matthews won gold. So
also, I thought Auston
I'm gonna give
Matthews
him a
was
pass.
unbelievable in the Olympics. Did he load
he
up
played
on
great.
points? No, but he was tied for second on Team USA, the gold medal team, in points in the tournament.
The face-offs, the 200-foot game, like, I'm just saying that, like, after that, watching him play there, like, I'm gonna give him a pass for the rest of the year. It's like, whatever, it's not his fault. He didn't construct this team. He didn't put his line mates together. Like, it's whatever. I'm gonna stop calling him Austina for a little bit.
Okay, there you go. See, that's the thing, Max, is that I hope that watching Auston Matthews at the Olympics and seeing him win gold and hearing the comments that his teammates made and his peers made about him alleviates the pressure from Toronto fans, because everybody just had praise for him as a leader, as a player, just the work that he puts in, the work ethic, the drive to win, all of it. And then we saw how effective he was on the ice. Again, did he light up the scoreboard? No, but he was awesome at the Olympics. And if it's not for him and the performance that he puts on in the gold medal game, U.S. doesn't win. Like, outside of Connor Hellebuck, Auston Matthews was one of the most important players in that game, because the way him, Faber, and Slavin played defensively against the Connor McDavid line all night, they were exceptional. And that's Auston Matthews stepping up and doing that in that moment and in that game. So, credit to him.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say is Benoit looked pretty horrible tonight. Like, he looked like he had not played hockey in 2 weeks.
he struggled. And for a guy that we're talking about as a potential trade piece,
Disappointed me.
yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, kind of, I want to see him come out tomorrow with a little bit more spunk than that. He just looked like he was Bambi on ice.
Yeah. Benoit, I think fair to put some criticism on here tonight. I didn't notice Nick Robertson that much. I would say, honestly, to be honest with you, I think the third line as a whole struggled here to me, and I think that's part of the reason why we saw Matthew Knies get moved up in the lineup as the game went on, because he wasn't getting the puck, they weren't getting the looks. I think part of that goes to Nick Waugh. I think part of that goes to Nick Robertson, who didn't have great games here tonight, but I thought Matthew Knies played well enough to deserve that opportunity to move up in the lineup. But yeah, man, there was a bunch of guys in this game who I didn't think looked very good.
Yeah, you want to know who looked very good tonight? Nikita Kucherov.
Oh, that guy's a treat to watch.
He looked like he was pissed off that he couldn't play in the Olympics.
Yeah, like who else looked like he was pissed off? Braden Point. Vasilevsky, sure. Yeah. Braden Point. Braden Point looked like he was fucking infuriated that he was injured and had to sit at home for the Olympic gold medal game. Like, that looked like a guy who was pissed off he didn't get to be a part of that and try to make a difference. He was fired up tonight.
And let's not forget about the legend Gergensons.
Zemgus Gergensons.
He played in the Olympics too.
Yo, if anybody after this show, and Pontus, if anybody after this show wants a laugh, search up, there is a Zemgus Gergensons song. It's in Latvian. Unless you speak their language, you're not going to know anything that's being said in the entire video. But it is a rap song with a music video about Zemgus Gergensons. Like, there are Latvian rappers who made a rap song about Zemgus Gergensons. I kid you not. It's incredible. I can't play it here. I'm sure we'll get dinged for copyright. I would love to play it here for people, but it's fucking awesome. Please go and watch it after this video, after this show ends tonight. It's hilarious. You don't have to watch the full thing. Watch for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I don't give a shit. It's funny as fuck.
For Subazor in chat. Hello, Pontus.
Yeah, hello, Pontus. Nice to see you, Pontus.
Oh, we missed those Rosie ones. Oh, that's so good. That was a good
I'll have to get Rosie to do it next. Maybe he'll do it tomorrow morning. All right, Max. Anything? Oh, wait. Actually, you know what? I'll ask you this, because I talked about this with Mike, and I gave my opinion. I stand strong on this. I think Leafs fans should... You don't have to go and hoot and holler and rah-rah, but I think they should applaud Auston Matthews on Saturday night against Ottawa. The captain of your team, captain Team USA to a gold medal. And I know we're Canadians, and I know we wanted our country to win, and we're upset that they didn't. But why would you boo the guy? Why would you give him any reception other than positive on Saturday night? Where do you stand on this, Max?
Might get me canceled. I would say I would cheer for him because he's your fucking captain, and he just did something very few people in the world can ever do. So you should just cheer for him. He's your freaking captain. And I think that the only people really truly who would want to boo him right now are people who are ideologically captured on the left and have TDS syndrome, and they just hate America for some reason, and they just want to boo everything that is American. And I don't like that. I think that America is like a good ally for us, and he's our captain. We shouldn't be so petty.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, part of it is I just don't give a shit enough to like care about talking about or involving myself in politics. So, I get 100% what you're saying, but I just think flat out he's your captain, and if you're gonna let that personal stuff get in the way of applauding the guy for an amazing personal accomplishment, I think you're a fucking moron. Yeah, that's my opinion. I'm sorry if you disagree with me, but I can't wrap my brain around the idea of booing Auston Matthews when he gets celebrated on Saturday night by the team. I can't do it. And if people do, I will be disgusted with Leafs fans if it's overwhelming or really loud boos.
That's why I said ideologically captured, because no normal human being would like do that to their captain. It's like you have something wrong in your fucking head that makes you want to boo your captain. Anyways,
yes.
Sorry for that.
No, it's all good, man. I asked you, and I wanted your opinion. I'm glad that you gave it. I think that you're right. I just can't understand people going out there to get their get frustrations out on Auston Matthews. I can't. It's fucking insane.
Like I said, I'm gonna stop calling him Austin and Purse Boy. So
that's a big development for anybody who doesn't know.
Right?
Max
I've been
saying
doing
that
for like 6 months. I've been doing it for like 6 months, and Subazor is gonna be very mad at me for saying that. But I'm Team Auston Matthews right now. Let's go.
All right, Max. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. We've made big strides. Big strides. Thank you for the call here tonight. You enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Max. You too. There you go. Max Entius Decimus. I think that's going to be our only call on the night here tonight. Nobody else has called into this one. Honestly, you know what? Excuse me. Sorry. I think that's probably a good thing. Just a quick note. We did hit 86 likes on the stream. Hold me to it for tomorrow. So just some personal context, and I know people don't really give a shit, but I am in the middle of a move. I am moving. This will be the second last show that you see of me here in this apartment. I will do tonight and Saturday, but I'm packing all my shit up and getting ready to go. Tomorrow I will be in Brantford. Tomorrow and Friday I'll be in Brantford, but tomorrow night I will be doing the show from the hotel in Brantford. I packed the salts away. I was cleaning all my shit up, and I packed the salts away, and I didn't realize until the show started, so I can't do the likes. I will make it up to you guys, so keep liking the stream, but I will make it up to you guys in the future, so just remind me how many I owe you. As of right now, it's 1. If you get to 100 by the end of the show, I will owe you 2. I apologize for that, but in the middle of a move right now, so yeah, that's why... I do not have that. I'm moving a lot of shit around. Like if you open the closets and everything, shit is just empty because stuff is being moved out. So, yeah, I'm not moving to Brantford. I'm going to Brantford with Jeff Merrick and the Sheet. We'll be doing shows live from the Brantford Bulldogs Arena tomorrow and Friday. So we're doing a little bit of a work trip here in the middle of this thing. I'll be back downtown Toronto as of Saturday. I'll do the show from here, and then I'll be bouncing around before I move back to my new spot. But yeah, so I apologize. A little bit of personal context on what's going on. I'm not moving to Brantford. We're doing some work in Brantford. Doing some shows in Brantford. That's it. Not moving to Brantford. Sticking in Toronto. I'm just saying, tomorrow I'll be in Brantford. Relax in the chat. Relax. Moving to an expensive mansion. Yep, that's exactly it. All right, let's do a couple things here to close out the show. Let's get to, first of all, our play of the game for tonight. And I want to see what you guys have in the chat, so send in your play of the game. I see in the chat, why not move to Brantford? It's lovely there, from Subazor. Because I love Toronto. I love living downtown Toronto. So I'm staying downtown Toronto. We're going to Brantford for some work. We're working in Brantford, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to the Bulldogs game. Come on. Get with the program. Going to go see Spencer Hyman. Come on. Play of the game for me. That unbelievable sequence where Jake Gensel hit the post and John Tavares scored down the other end, strictly because it was funny. Strictly because it was funny. I laughed. I said, no way. I immediately thought Patrick Stephon. And then the Maple Leafs scored. And I was like, wow, actually Patrick Stephon. But just nowhere near the significance. But still funny. So that was my play of the game. Let's get out of here on our grade of the game. You guys send in your grades in the chat. I want to see what you guys think and how you guys feel about this one here tonight. What are your thoughts on tonight's game? I think I'm going to go... I'm going to go with a C- for tonight. C-. I'll give them a little bit of an out on first game back, get the rust out. But at the same time, not pretty, not a great start. I thought Stolarz was fine. I thought Matthews was fine. I thought Nylander had some jump to him. I thought OEL had some jump. I thought Nyes looked better once they got him off that third line. I mean, D+, sure. I'll go with a D+. You guys are convincing me. Fucking Ginny Snood in the chat is just the harshest critic here. Ginny Snood. Unreal. I'll go with a D+. Should have been 7-2. Probably fair. D+. D+. All right. That's all for me here tonight. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401 right here on YouTube. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything that happens here on the channel. I'll be back tomorrow for another breakdown, live from a hotel room in beautiful Brantford, Ontario, breaking everything down from tomorrow night's game, Leafs Panthers. Look forward to seeing everybody there. Tune into the sheet tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time to hear what Spencer Hyman has to say, hear some OHL talk, all of that stuff. So we'll see you guys there. Thank you for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel.